happy, safe, fun event happened in downtown Detroit on Thursday evening. Big music event. The whole world came into Detroit for the grand reopening of Michigan Central Station, and couldn't have been a more grand opening than with some great Detroit music featuring artists like Eminem and Jack White, Fantasia, and so many others coming in to celebrate this monument of Detroit reopening into a new era. Joining us to talk about this special concert and the impact of Detroit on music in general is journalist Gary Graff on Splash Live with us. Gary, thank you so much for your time today.
Good morning, Tyler.
Glad to have you on to talk about
it. It was a late night, as you can imagine.
Yeah, it was a late night. It was an exciting night too. You were there. We've seen some images and some videos from you from your X page, and it was an exciting concert to watch on TV. What was it like to experience that in person with all those stars in Detroit?
So it was like seeing it on TV, only on steroids, as you can imagine. The feeling was really good. The building looked beautiful, and then to have it, and we got lucky with the weather. Which was nice. And then to have a show where you had one classic song after another, one iconic Detroit or Michigan related music artist after another, and even the one who was glaringly not there, Bob Seger, they paid tribute to him. You had Melissa Etheridge, Jelly Roll, and Fantasia. They each did a song and then came together to do a little bit of old time rock and roll. But then to have Eminem do the first live performance of Houdini, his brand new single with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. Big Sean performed a new song. Diana Ross played her hits. Slum Village and Common paid tribute to Ella J. The Clark sisters and Kiara Sheard, took it to church literally. With what they did, and then to have Jack White play Seven Nation Army with the flames going off behind him and the pyrotechnics. I mean, that's a pretty good night of Detroit music.
And really encapsulates all of what Detroit music is about, because you mentioned one of the opening performances of the night was Diana Ross, and so many people, when they think of music and Detroit, they associate Detroit, of course, with Motown music, but what we saw on that stage really exemplifies what Detroit music, what Michigan music is all about. It really is represented in so many different facets. And on that note, Gary, I mean, you've been around the music scene for a long time. You've seen the impact Detroit has had outside of the city. Just how big of a music city is Detroit, and how big of an impact has it had outside of here?
Oh, it's massive and it's world class. I mean, and in across genres, Motown, of course, and rhythm and blues in general. This was where John Lee Hooker started, where he first played Boogie Chillin'. So you have that, rock, great heritage in rock, hip hop and rap. This is where techno was invented. We have the Detroit Symphony Orchestra is a world-renowned orchestra. So we really do check off all the boxes. We cover all the bases and all the other cliches you can say about it. And I think what you see here, though, is, okay, this was not just a Detroit concert last night. This was streamed via Peacock. On Sunday night, it's going to be a 1-hour special on NB Freakin' C, okay, national broadcast. That tells you what the impact of Detroit music is as a heritage and as a brand, that you could take what's essentially the opening of a local office building, right? And turn it into an international streaming and TV special because it's Detroit music. The rest of the world wants to see Eminem. They want to see Jack White. They want to hear Bob Seger songs. They want to hear Diana Ross. That right there tells you the impact. And when you talk to the folks who put this thing together, and they told you, yeah, we went to NBC, and as soon as we started reeling out who was going to be playing the music, they said yes. And again, this is the opening of a local office building, really. I mean, it's a historic and a hugely important story here in Detroit. And yes, if you can make the case about Detroit, as goes Detroit, so goes the nation, as was famously said back in the 40s. And of, how the opening of Michigan Central only continues Detroit's legacy in transportation technology, but it really was the music that got a national network and an international streaming service on board to send this thing out worldwide.
And it's a great way to be an ambassador for Detroit and the metro area also. Music is one of those universal languages, and we really had that on display in Detroit yesterday. And in terms of the crowd output, I mean, you were in the thick of that beforehand. We saw pictures of you that you took of the stage before anyone had arrived. What was the vibe like down there from people all across Detroit and around Michigan that converged on Michigan Central Station?
Very happy and very chill, believe it or not. A lot of excitement, of course, about the event, but about the amusement, but just people happy to be there on a nice night. They knew they were there on a special occasion. The vast majority of the people there were, of course, from Detroit, and they were feeling the pride, feeling the grit, feeling that this is the opening of a new era, symbolized by a place that was a symbol of our decline. Detroit's decline for so long. That place was a hellhole. I went to raids there, that we snuck in. I was at one that got raided, and and Patti Smith, who received a special award before the show, she talked about how she and her late husband, Fred Smith, used to go down to Michigan Central and fantasize about whether this place could ever be renovated and reopened. Jack White, who grew up in the area, told me about how he used to go down there, ride his bike down there or whatever, and look at it and say, could this place, if he had ever told me then that this place could ever be like it is tonight, no way. It's too big a job. But to their credit, the Ford Motor Company took it on, put in a lot of money and a lot of man hours, and made it a great symbol of Detroit, period, of Detroit history, of Detroit resilience, of Detroit legacy. And last night, Detroit music, and as people go inside for the tours over the next 10 days that they're doing, you'll see a lot of Detroit music reflected in the history that's reflected in Michigan Central.
There's plenty more coverage you can see of the concert that happened on Thursday at Michigan Central Station. You can follow along for even more great stories on local music and music in general on Twitter or X at Graff on Music. Joining us is a music journalist, Gary Graff, on today's edition of The Splash Live. Gary, before we let you go, your lasting thoughts from this concert and really what Detroit means and has meant to music across the generations.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody had any doubt that Detroit means as much to music as New York or Los Angeles or Nashville or Austin or London or Ibiza or anywhere, they just have to watch it. Spend an hour watching NBC on Sunday night, and you'll know. This is one of the preeminent music cities in the world, and certainly last night we showed it.
Gary, thank you so much for your time and to give us a little bit more of that inside look at what was really an historic event that happened in Detroit on Thursday.
And happy National Donut Day today.
Yes, to you as well. Go get yourself one.
Couldn't think of a better thing to have follow up something like this.
Hey, we saw Jelly Roll perform last night. Have a Jelly Roll on Friday morning. Gary, thank you so much.
You got it. Have a good day.